In 1983, the Department of the United States Army Operational Intelligence and Security Command released a document about their Gateway Process program that they were involved in. This document explains the character of time-space dimension and the means by which expanded human consciousness that transcends into the Achieving Gateway's objectives. In this video, we will discuss the similarities of what the U.S. Army experiments discovered, along with a comparison to the Emerald Tablets of similar phenomena that was known ages ago. As we discussed in the first video of this series, Thoth was the author of the Emerald Tablets. In a future video, we will discuss how this particular individual was known throughout history, by how many names he was known by, why he was so important, and how he reincarnated so many times. This is found in Tablet 2, called the Halls of Amenti, in the Emerald Tablets. We will go through each of the 38 paragraphs within this document and break it down to understand its meaning. In the Declassified Gateway document, paragraphs 1 through 4, it discusses how they use related techniques of hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation to achieve the objective of getting the human consciousness to transcend space and time. These are all very long, in-depth explanations of how each of these techniques were achieved, and I will do a future video on these as well. In paragraph number 5, the process would bypass the left brain's linear thinking, so to go straight to the right brain, which is the intuitive insight hemisphere of the brain. This project was conducted by the Monroe Institute out of Virginia in the U.S. They used what was called the hemisync technique, which is hemispheric synchronization. This was used to sync up both the left and right hemispheres of the brain together in the same rhythmic pattern and frequency. To achieve this syncing up, resonating tones were introduced by headphones to the participants to help enhance and focus the frequency of the brain wave outputs, thus making the right and left hemisphere resonate at the same frequency, which altered consciousness beyond space and time to gain access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. In paragraph 6, one of the researchers clarifies the process involved in using these tones to amplify the human mind. She states, "The human mind in its natural state may be linked to an ordinary lamp, which expends energy in the form of both heat and light. When the human mind is under the discipline of these hemisync tones, it acts in the fashion of a laser beam, projecting with total coherence of both frequencies and amplitudes, such that the surface area of the laser beam contains billions of times the concentrated energy found similar in the surface area of the sun. Once the human brain balances these tones within itself, it resonates at a higher vibrational level, able to receive information from the universal quantum fields as symbols, including flashes of holistic intuition." In paragraphs 7 and 8, it states to achieve the syncing hemispheres of the brain that these tones take advantage of a phenomena known as frequency following response, or FFR, which means that the subject hears a sound produced, a frequency emitted, one associated with the operation of the human brain, and it tries to mimic the same frequency pattern by adjusting its brain output. For example, as we see in this diagram, that one binaural beat is produced by putting one tone in the right ear and a different tone in the left ear, giving us a difference of only 5 Hz in this diagram. A binaural beat is an auditory illusion, which first discovered in the 19th century that occurs when one tone is slightly different frequencies are played in each ear. To reconcile these two tones, the brain produces a third tone that sounds like a single pulsating beat. The role of these frequency resonances are designed to achieve the physical quietude characteristics as the same as deep transcendental meditation states. Yoga, Zen, and transcendental meditations will produce the same change in the brain when practiced long enough. Paragraph 10 states that as the body is tuned into a coherent oscillatory vibrating in harmony with the surrounding electrosonic medium, the specific exercises that are in the Gateway program will help the participant build up the energy field surrounding their body by using energy from the Earth's torus energy field, which the body is now in training because of its ability to resonate with it. We must point out here that in this paragraph it clearly states that the body's energy field will line up with its surrounding environment, which promotes the movement of the seat of consciousness. This is what Eastern philosophies have taught all along about meditation. In addition, this paragraph emphasizes that the promoting of these enhanced bodily energy levels help the participants experience out-of-body movement that resonates with the Earth's electromagnetic sphere, which also assists the mind in communicating telepathically with other human minds that are similarly tuned. In paragraph 11, it discusses consciousness and energy and defining the differences between the two. We know that matter and energy are not the same thing. There have been many misconceptions that energy is a form of matter. Well, that is not so. Energy is a force that exists within the quantum universe that most physicists call dark energy. Simply put, solid matter in the strictest constructs of the term simply does not exist. Rather, atomic structures is composed of the oscillating energy grid surrounded by other oscillating energy grids, which orbit at extraordinarily high speeds. A live human cell vibrates at approximately 10 to the third power hertz. The point to be made is that the entire human being, brain consciousness, and all that is like the universe which surrounds it, nothing more or less than an extraordinarily complex system of energy fields, so-called states of matter, are actually variances in states of energy, and human consciousness is a function of the interactions of energy into opposite states in motion or at rest. Two forces have been identified within space. They are energy and momentum. Moving on to paragraph 12 and 13, it talks about holograms, which are energy that creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting and expanding a certain frequency in these three-dimensional modes that creates a living pattern called a hologram. A hologram is where light arranges itself in certain patterns to produce a form that takes shape as an image. Everything in the universe that we see and experience is based off of this concept of a hologram. Quantum physics explains that this energy force created a simulator that developed what we live in of our holographic universe. It goes on to explain in paragraph 14 through 16 that the consciousness matrix is composed of unbelievable complexity of interacting energy fields, some resting and some in motion. The human mind is also a hologram which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we all call consciousness. Then the brain tries to make sense of what the holographic images are saying to it. The mind will proceed to compare the image to what it just saw to itself and how it relates. In the book called The Kybalion, also authored by Thoth, this is the law of relativity. It is about how we use information to compare what is relative to us, how it relates to us. That's what our consciousness does in this process. Our minds operate in this way, perceiving everything by comparison. Paragraph 17 is about self-cognition. It states that human thought that differentiates from other consciousness of plants and animals means that it self-identifies, that it is self-recognized cognition. Humans not only know, but they know that they know. They are able to monitor the process that their own thinking and maintain their thoughts, and they are aware of it. Moreover, they can conduct a comparative assessment and evaluate the functioning of their own thoughts, processes against various objectives, standards that we each have adopted. Paragraph 18 through 19 is about the time-space dimension and the intervening dimensions. Physicists define time as a measurement of energy or force that is in motion. Notice how both these things have to exist, energy and motion. As they stated before, energy can be at rest or in motion. When energy is at rest, it is undistinguishable and called dark energy because it can't be seen and it's hard to define. But when movement is added to it, it produces light. Light is related to the fire element and is masculine in nature. The force of momentum is equal to that of speed, and when it is added to the energy, it produces light. This information is also found in the Emerald Tablet, where Thoth speaks of the all as being energy with momentum added to it. Momentum meaning life and movement, and was feminine in nature. Throughout the Emerald Tablet, Thoth constantly refers to the all as light and life. This document states that energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest. So basically, it is in a perpetual sleep state, and its secondary force, the momentum, which is its subconscious, is the only evidence that shows where the energy has been because it produces its light. The document goes on to state that because this energy is in a state of rest, that it cannot produce holograms, that this energy is asleep, unconscious, and it's dreaming. But the dream that this energy is having has produced energy that is in motion. The energy in motion is creating all of creation through its conscious thinking. This dream includes all sentient beings throughout the multiverse. That means that the holograms that we experience as life are produced by these sentient beings' consciousness. Yes, we are those sentient beings, and the all retains its inherent capacity for consciousness by passively perceiving and witnessing the holograms that are generated by the energy in motion out in all of the various dimensions, which are creating the multiverse. This is found in 1 Thessalonians 3:2 that states that we are co-creators with God. But understand this document clearly states that we're not only co-creators, but we are the conscious living being of the all itself. Physicists calls this energy the absolute. The absolute is absolutely all things. Thoth calls this energy the all. To enter these intervening dimensions, human consciousness must focus with such intense coherence that the frequency of the energy pattern, which comprises that consciousness, can accelerate to the point where the resulting frequency pattern would virtually look like a solid line. Achievement of this state of altered consciousness sets the stage for perception of non-time space dimensions because of the operation of a principle in physics called the Planck's distance. When we look up Planck's distance, it equals 1.6 times 10 to the power of negative 35, which equals 2.4 hertz. But this document states that the tone that was listened to was below this, so half of this tone would be 1.2 hertz. What is a little confusing about paragraph 19, it states the following. The critical step out of time-space occurs when the speed of the oscillation drops below 10 to the negative power of 33 centimeters per second, then has in parentheses Planck's distance. However, when we look this formula up online, it states 10 to the negative power of 35. I am not sure which one is correct. I would suggest that anyone who is planning on trying to work with these frequencies to try both to see which one works for you to achieve your consciousness to enter into the quantum field. In paragraph 20, it discusses how subatomic particles behave when they click out. Just like the human consciousness, using those frequencies, they enter into the quantum field and become entrained, and as a result, they begin to collide with one another. This cross-communication that happens between the subatomic particles is because of the time-space velocity speeds are in such excess that are beyond the speed of light, causing this collision. Quantum theory states that after this collision happens, when the particles separate from one another, this creates what's called a Siamese twin effect. That means that they can communicate with one another even at great distances across the multiverse. Paragraph 21 is called Dimensions in Between. It goes on, now that we have explained how energy forms can move beyond time-space dimension, we are turning our attention to the energy forms which inhabit those dimensions between time, space, and the absolute. The following paragraph is a little bit confusing. It is where the writer is trying to explain how human consciousness will experience an event that happens outside of space and time. I will read this aloud and then we will break it down to have a better understanding of its meaning. He writes, "The casual relationship between events break down. Movements become jerky rather than smooth. Time and space may become grainy or chunky. Perhaps a piece of space can be traversed by a particle of matter in any direction without necessarily being synchronized with a piece of time. In short, a pair of events will occur in either time or space, and the pair not being connected casually but by a random fluctuation." In the first two sentences, they are pretty self-explanatory, where he states that movements can become jerky rather than smooth, and time and space will become grainy and chunky. The rest of the sentences are a little bit more hard to understand, and this is the part I think we need to explain. Let's pretend that we are taking an LP album and we're going to put it on the stereo. And as we begin to play it, we realize that the vinyl album is skipping, therefore creating the music to be out of sync and out of order. This example shows how something can be out of time. And out of space just means the exact same thing, that it's not playing in the frequency of time necessary within that space of time. When he speaks of fluctuations, he's meaning that the order in which an event should actually unfold is all mixed up and jarbled, and it's not done in a consistent manner that is what we are used to when we live in a time-space continuum where events unfold like in a proper manner, one right after the other, where this information can be divided, it can be paused, it can speed ahead, it can slow down. So it's not in order according to a particular timing set. If that's too hard to understand, you could probably understand this concept. Let's say that you are in a band and the drummer that you have playing with you, let's say that he shows up and he has been drinking alcohol. And he is now playing his drums out of sync with the rest of the band. He is either lagging behind in his rhythm and beats, or he's speeding up. Well, this is the same type of event that this man is explaining here, is that events are not unfolding in a proper manner as according to timing. Now moving on to paragraph 22, which is special status and out-of-body experiences. Here they are encouraging the hemi-sync entrainment method for the human consciousness to be able to separate from the physical body at a faster pace by using these methods so they can enter into the quantum field faster. He continues, as a result, a self-reinforcing process should ensue whereby the further consciousness in the out-of-body state can be projected beyond the time-space dimension, the more its level of energy output would be enhanced, thus promoting the potential for still further travel. The tentative conclusion to be drawn is that the out-of-body state may be regarded as an extremely effective way of accelerating the process of enhancing consciousness and of interfacing with dimensions beyond time-space. Paragraph 23 is called The Absolute in Perspective. In this incredibly complex hologram, which is created by the intersection of energy patterns generated by the totality of all dimensions of the universe, time, space included, we have noted that our minds constitute energy fields which interact with various aspects of this hologram to deduce information which is ultimately processed through the left brain hemisphere, to reduce it to the form that we employ for the process that we call thinking. We have implied that this hologram is the finite embodiment in active energy form of the infinite consciousness of the Absolute. It is the title we assign to that vast pool of energy in a state of perfect rest over which the physical universe is layered and from whence it does come. Paragraph 24 is called From the Big Bang to Taurus. That hologram is often called a torus because it is thought to have the overall shape of an immense self-contained spiral. Based on this thesis, studies concerning the distribution of the quasars and operating on the premises that in the universe, smaller processes tend to be mirror images of larger ones. Here I will interject that this is exactly what Thoth says in the Kabbalion when he uses the axiom, as above, so below. This means everything that is in existence has its complete and opposite mirror image found elsewhere throughout all of creation. When we take the tortoise, for example, we see how it rotates in upon itself through a point at the top and at the bottom. What NASA may not want you to know is that even our planet has an opening at the top and at the bottom, as do all planets. We have seen their evidence of trying to hide this throughout many of the Google Maps that we can see from outer space to our planet Earth. In addition, the body also has its own torus, coming through the crown chakra of the head and exiting out of the root. So does the human heart. It has a torus surrounding it and producing its own energy field as well. If looking at the diagram that this document has included, it shows the universe that looks like a human brain, also in the shape of a torus. Again, we see the axiom as above, so below. Everything that's without is also within. He goes on to explain about the two holes that can be witnessed within the universe. He says, He sees matter in our universe entering the ovoid pattern following ejection from a nucleus composed of extremely compressed energy through a white hole. And at the end of its trip to the far end of the ovoid, he sees it departing via the black hole. Here, the simulation shows it as red and blue. Time is observed to be a measure of the change which occurs as energy evolves into new, more complex forms as it progresses along the distance from the white hole to the nucleus around the shell of this cosmic egg until it enters the black hole. In other words, as energy expelled from infinity and confined within limits by the consciousness of the Absolute, achieves form and motion following ejection from the white hole at the top of the egg. Time begins as a measure of the cadence of this evolutionary movement as reality goes around the shell of the egg on its journey to the black hole at the far end. Paragraph 25 is called Our Place in Time. It discusses the torus as being simultaneously generated by this matter that is in motion, which meaning it is us, in all various phases of time. It reflects the development of the universe in the past, present, and the future. And it becomes possible to see how human consciousness brought to a significantly altered or focused state could obtain information concerning the past, present, and future, since they are all existing at the same time within this universal hologram simultaneously. Now that we have approached paragraph number 26, which is labeled Quality of Consciousness, we have come to a point in the document where it is very important to understand the concepts that are being discussed here. We will break this down so we can have complete understanding of what it is trying to tell us. It says, we noted earlier that the out-of-body state involves projection of a major portion of the energy pattern that represents human consciousness, so that it may move either freely throughout the terrestrial spheres for purposes of information acquisition or into other dimensions outside of time-space, perhaps to interact with other forms of consciousness within the universe. Consciousness is the organizing and sustaining principle that provides the energy and guidance to bring and keep energy in motion within a given set of parameters, so that a specific reality will result. When human consciousness reaches a state of sophistication in which it can perceive itself and its own hologram that it's created, it reaches the point of self-recognition, and it will wake itself up out of rest. Okay, this is where we're going to stop because this needs to be explained. This last line obviously means that the all does not know that we are it, that it's sleeping and its unconsciousness has created us, and it takes us to wake it up. Let's read this line again slowly. When human consciousness reaches a state of sophistication. Okay, we're going to stop here, and we're going to talk about this state of sophistication that is necessary. We are presently living in a time where we are exploring different aspects of our consciousness and finding out what we are and who we are. And this is a part of who we are, because we are the all. This is why this document in particular is so important, that humankind must wake up to wake its true absolute self up. In the Emerald Tablets, it will teach you what needs to happen for us to wake up fully. It teaches the skills necessary to ascend out of this dimension we are living in and to escape this simulation. We will continue. Human beings have this form of elevated consciousness, as does the Absolute. It is the function of the energy in motion and its associated quality of consciousness in infinity. It is omniscient and omnipotence in perceptual unity. When the energy in motion returns to a state of total rest within the Absolute, it returns to the continuum of consciousness in the pool of limitless, timeless perception that resides there. Thus, the more complex an energy system in the material state is, the more consciousness it possesses to maintain its reality. Our consciousness, therefore, is that differentiated aspect of the universal consciousness which resides within the Absolute. Our consciousness is the organization of the energy patterns which constitute our physical body, but is distinctively separate from and superior to it. Since our consciousness exists quite apart from and outside of reality, beyond the bounds of time-space, it, like the Absolute, has neither beginning nor end. Reality has both a beginning and an end because it is bound within time-space. But the fundamental quantum field of energy and its associated consciousness is eternal. When reality ends, energy in motion will simply return to infinity in the Absolute. Paragraph 27, Consciousness in Perspective. Having ascertained that human consciousness is able to separate from physical reality and interact with other intelligences in other dimensions within the universe, and that it is both eternal and destined for ultimate return to the Absolute, we are faced with the question of, so what happens then after that? Well, what happens is we reunite our consciousness with the Absolute's consciousness, and we will participate in the all-knowing infinite continuum with the characteristic of energy that's in the ever-present. We will only lose the ability to create and generate independent thought holograms, which is only a part of the false reality. But we will maintain our memories, and the Absolute will know exactly every experience that every sentient being has ever had. In the Kybalion, it clearly tells us that the Absolute is all, and the all is one, and that the entire construct is mental, everything is mind, and all is of one mind. Paragraph 28, Gateway Method. Having put the gateway experience in context by postulating a structural outline of how and why it seems to work, and having shown what it is designed to achieve, the time has come to examine the specific techniques which comprise the gateway training processes. These techniques are designed to enable the user of the gateway tapes to manipulate the high energy states, which can be achieved if the user continues to work with the tapes over a period of time. The amount of time required to achieve advanced energy states and to fully exploit the techniques varies from individual to individual. The sensitivity of their nervous system, their general state of mind, and the extent to which they may have previously developed facilities in related techniques, such as transcendental meditation, are all pertinent factors affecting the speed at which they may expect to progress. The gateway process begins by teaching the individual participants to isolate strenuous concerns in a visualization device called an energy conversion box. Next, the participant is introduced to a method of encouraging his mind and body to strive to achieve a state of resonance through utterances of a single tone, a monotonous, protracted humming sound that sets up a feeling of vibration, particularly in the head. He engages in this resonated tuning, as it is called, for humming along with a chorus of such sound that are contained on the gateway tapes. Following this, the participant is exposed to the gateway affirmation and is encouraged to repeat it to themselves as they hear it repeated on the tape. The affirmation that is on the tape is as follows: I am more than a physical body, and I desire to expand. Let's just be looking throughout my site for those other recordings. Paragraph 29, Hemisync Introduction. After meditation, visualization, humming, and affirmation has been achieved, We are moving on to introducing the hemisync sound frequencies. This will also include pink and white noise that happens in the background while the participant is told to visualize a energy balloon that flows through the top of their head to their feet and back up through the body again outside of the head. The documents state that this type of exercise is to mimic the cosmic egg energy. What is another interesting statement here in this paragraph, which is strangely odd, it says that this energy is designed to provide protection against conscious entities possessing lower energy levels, which the participant might encounter in the event that he achieves an out-of-body state. It serves as a precautionary purpose in the unlikely event that the participant's first out-of-body experience involves direct projection outside the terrestrial sphere. Now, what is very concerning here is the idea of being approached by an entity that could cause you harm. This sounds very similar to a passage in the Emerald Tablets where Thoth talks about entities that were invited into Atlantis, which was provoked by evil priests that were practicing during the Atlantis times. Thoth said in the Emerald Tablet that when they opened up a portal into another dimension and was letting in these lower level entities, it was one of the reasons why Atlantis fell and was overtaken and pulled under into the Atlantic Ocean. And now we have to ask ourselves, where did these entities and darkness, low level beings come from? Well, we know that the Absolute cannot produce holograms. So there only leaves one other solution to this question. We created it. We, in our minds, created darkness. We, in our minds, create what's bad and what's evil, which tells you that we have to elevate our thoughts to get rid of these ideas and entities that are out there that we've given life to. Basically, we hold the power to our problems. We have the solutions to fix it all. We just have to decide to move forward with our thinking and fix what's wrong with us so we can reascend back to our absolute source from which we came. When we back up to paragraph 28, called the Gateway Method, I must point out here that they have made a comment about how other people who had already achieved a certain level of knowledge and technique prior to the program succeeded better when they entered into the quantum field, especially being approached by such entities. There is also a passage in the Emerald Tablet found in Tablet 8 where Thoth mentions how to astral project, that you are always to move in curves and circles and not angles. What he's meaning here is the Kundalini energy, which is all curves and circles. It looks like a serpent up the spine of the human body. This is how your spirit and your soul is made to leave and re-enter your body. These chakras are called the 7 lords of the cycles in the tablet, and they exist on every dimension. They also represent the 7 planets of our solar system, and each planet represents different human characteristics and challenges that must be overcome through doing the chakra work to escape the simulation. He also gives a magic power word to protect yourself while traveling throughout the quantum field and when exiting and re-entering your body. I will do a video in the future on this magic word and how the chakra system is to be used when you're astral projecting. He's also calling these entities that are met out in the quantum field the hounds of the barrier. Well, these are the same representations that we see in Egypt by the name Anubis, and their job is to keep the souls in the matrix. In Egypt, this matrix was called the Duat. Thoth continues that you are not to use angles or corners, which means don't try to achieve astral projection by cutting corners, by taking shortcuts like straight lines or going through portals to achieve it, that you're always to go through the curves, which is the Kundalini energy. You have to learn it and don't take shortcuts, because when you do this, you're putting your soul and your spirit in danger to be taken by these dark entities. And this is real concerning, considering that this document is stating that they're using their own soldiers for this study to astral project out into the quantum field to retrieve info for the government's intelligent purposes. This is why they had the Egyptian mystery schools, to teach all this information so people understood that this was not games, this is not something to play with. Don't look for an angle to cheat your way through spiritual gifts or ascension. Your spirit is not something to toy and play with, that it is part of the great, all, and absolute, and that you should respect and take care of, including doing the work that's necessary to achieve the escape from the simulation, because it's been earned. You have to want to be a part of the absolute again. Without that desire, you will not do the work that's necessary to overcome each of these things that these planets represent, that shows up in your life as challenges and problems. And that's why you're reborn over and over and over again. And every spirit will be reborn again until they achieve a level of understanding of what it is that they need to fix within every single lifetime. And sometimes it changes throughout every lifetime. It can be different, or things that you've already overcome you may not have to go through again. One more thing I would like to add is you can use music and tones and affirmations and visualizations to help you achieve some of the spiritual things you are seeking. But the true work happens outside of using all of these types of modalities to achieve that. The work is in your everyday waking life. If you'll look at that list that I just posted, it will show you what you have to overcome to escape the simulation. Paragraph 30 through 33 is kind of a recap of everything that they have talked to up till now. In 30, it states about advanced techniques, and basically what they're teaching here is the chakra system. They're talking about seeing things in color, including the different organs within the body and parts of the body. They have one of them called the living body map. So that's exactly what they're talking about, is the energy vortexes, which we will be going over in great detail in another video. I do want to skip all the way to the last part that we're going over here, which is paragraph number 34, belief systems and considerations. They just wanted to let people know that because of this study, they thought that this would upset the majority's view of religion, but they also tried to make a comparison of how they can see the God and creator of the world in religions based off these types of experiences. But I'm going to go ahead and skip right down to the last paragraph of paragraph 34, and it states the following, and then it's going to drop off and the page is going to disappear. And it says, the description of energy totally at rest in infinity fits the Christian metaphysical concept of the Father, while the infinite self-consciousness resident, the subconscious, in the energy providing the motive force, and he's talking about the momentum again, of will to bring the portion of energy into motion. That what they're saying is that the subconscious provided the energy necessary to create sentient beings, and then really to correspond with the sun, and they're talking SON, and what that's meaning is not the Son, Jesus, but the sons of God, meaning all sentient beings. whether it be humanoid or what have you. This is so because in order to attain self-consciousness, the consciousness of the absolute must project a hologram of itself and then be able to perceive it. That hologram is a mirror image of the absolute in infinity, still exists outside of time and space, but is one step removed from the absolute, and it is the actual agent, talking about us, of all creation, which is all reality. They're talking about us. They're telling us here that we have to decide that we're going to reflect back to ourselves, the absolute, that, hey, hello, here we are you, and you're dreaming. Wake up, look at us, this is you. Hello, we are you. This is us. That's basically what they're saying right here. And then it just says, and the eternal thought or concept of self, which results from this self-consciousness, serves the, then it goes blank. And this is where the document just drops off, and the page is missing, and it skips from this paragraph 34 straight to 37. So the rest of the document is all about recapping everything that we've discussed up to now. Well, this wraps things up. We are now come to the end of this long video, and I hope this kind of sheds some light on the document that the CIA released about their gateway process and how they have been exploring the consciousness of man. Be looking for those videos that I have mentioned within this one, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.